Hi, my name is Karen Ann Archer, and welcome to my studio today, as little as my studio is. Today I'm doing a commission work for a friend of mine that I went to school with since kindergarten, and she's a photographer, and she gave me rights to her picture that I just fell in love with. It was just literally the meaning of Christmas in a child's eyes. And this is her grandbaby. I've printed off 3 of the different pictures of the same one, zoomed in a little bit, one a little larger. I zoomed in a little bit on the face. The quality of the print as I zoomed in got a little bit blurred, but it's enough of the light and shadow I wanted to capture in the painting. Okay, I've secured them to my board, the 3 pictures, as my reference. I like Gamblin products. It's in my price range. People say, buy the best of the best when it comes to your supplies. Well, you also have to live in your means. So Gamblin is the highest quality I can afford. So since they are expensive, and there's a way to make sure you use coupons and everything, I keep them in a nice little tackle box. Today we're going to just do the wash in this video and the drawing and getting all our tones and shadows in. Most artists have a set palette of colors. I'm still working on mine, which leads me to describe a little bit about myself. I do not consider myself a teacher. I'm on here to inspire. I want to inspire others to paint. If I can paint, you can paint. As far as education, I took art in high school and I loved it. I had a great art teacher in high school, Miss Puckett, and she showed us lots of different medias. We explored that. She ended up teaching us acrylics. And I stayed an acrylic painter on and off since high school. This past year, I've picked up oil painting. I really like oil painting versus acrylic because the oils can do things I couldn't get acrylics to do. And not saying acrylics will not do certain things. They will. I've seen artists who are awesome acrylic painters, and I almost cannot tell the difference between the acrylic versus the oil in their paintings. But as far as I go, I really enjoyed the oil. I've gotten into plein air painting and doing more and more still life, so I have to show you other videos and take you along later on. If you hear sound in the background, my daughter is here. I do have 2 children, Jonathan and Morgan. I am divorced. I have 2 stepchildren from the previous marriage, and they're older, Jason and Michael. And I have a fiance, which has a son who's older, and so I have another child. So 5 altogether, and they're just a blessing. But we are in the corner of the living room, which is my studio for now. My dreams are to have my own great big studio one day, but you have to work with what you got to work with. And that's the thing about it, is that you need to paint with what you have to work with. And if you wait until you have all these special studio and all these special things, then you'll never paint. And life's too short. You need to get painting. And that leads me to is that when I said I'm inspire people and I'm not a teacher, let's take this commission work I'm working on now. I have not done portraits. So we're going to learn this together. And I figured, as doing portraits, babies are a little bit easier because they do not have like the bone structures, and everything's a little bit more rounded. So this should be hopefully a little bit easier, but we're going to learn together. And as I take you along in videos, that's my whole thing, is just that we learn together. We're going to try new products that I haven't learned right now. I am down to Gamblin oil paints. I've tried some of the less expensive, but this is where I can afford for now. I might be able to afford higher expensive paint, but this is where I am. As far as medium concerned, I use linseed oil, but I'm wanting to try some liquid because I've found outside plein air painting, you need something that dries fast. So it does make a big challenge how your paint reacts to the elements outside. So as we get started, and let me show you my colors. I have titanium white, alizarin crimson. I can never say that. Alizarin crimson. Try my best with my country accent here. Yellow ochre, burnt sienna, and Van Dyke brown. The Van Dyke brown I have not seen many artists use, but I really like it because it, to me, replaces black. Now, I do not have a set palette as far as my colors. I'm still exploring every color, so it kind of reminds me of a little old lady who collects cats. I am collecting whatnots. I've been collecting tubes of paint, the smallest tubes of paint, and trying out different ones to see how I like them. Yes, there's some color mixing you can do, and learn color mixing and making colors is something you have to learn, but you can learn it along the way. The thing about it is that to choose a palette of colors with all the colors that are available, I think you don't stay with one. You will trade in and out. So here's what today we're going to do. We're going to start off with a wash. I have, using oil paint, Gamsol, which is a Gamlin product. It's mineral spirits. It does have supposedly an odor. I can't smell it, but I would say ventilate it anyways. I do have a ceiling fan. It's up over the camera. I used a cottage cheese bucket because I usually set this on the floor, and I have a 50-pound dog who walks around, likes to knock things over, and on top of that, it's sitting on my carpet, and I'm a little messy when I slosh the paint around in there to clean the brush, so I just gave it that little extra security. I'm not slinging it everywhere. That'll be down here on the floor. I used to, from here out into this past year, use Walmart paint brushes, but I have found that Rosemary brushes are inexpensive compared to a lot of the other brushes. So the only thing is that they are out of the country. I'm in the U.S., so I do have to call the bank and tell them, hey, I'm ordering out of country. Let me order, and they'll give me a 24-hour permission to order. But I really like their high quality paint brushes. They have, I've bought knives, paint knives, and so today we're going to just pretty much use just a number 4 ivory pointed round brush. And what we're going to start off with, let me stick my Gamsol a little bit up here, is a wash. Now, I'm going to try to remember to show you my palette. I'm not used to holding my palette this far up. I do wear a rubber glove on one hand just because this is where I hold my paper towels. I do like Viva because they do not leave that paper towel dust on anything, and they're very absorbent. They're almost cloth-like. I do not get any kickbacks from any products I show you or anything like that. Like I said, I'm just in here to inspire other people to paint. If I can do this, you can do this. So we're going to start off with a wash. We're going to take some of the Alizarin crimson here and go over to the burnt sienna. I kind of like to make it, and sometimes you're going to see me mix, and I'm going to get things too dark, and I may slide over and use something else. So the burnt sienna, I think I like this middle tone brown I've got mixed together, just from the burnt sienna and the yellow ochre. I kind of like to start in the middle. That way I know I can go lighter, then I can go darker. And if you want to save time, you could use a bigger brush, but I'm still limited on brushes. So we're just going to get the wash on there. It's really just covering lightly. A lot of people start paintings different ways. I do start with pencil if I'm doing like a cityscape. I've done one this past year of the Festival of the Horse here in Georgetown, Kentucky, that my daughter took the picture of. I worked from a picture, and she caught it after the rain, and it was so inspiring. I did a pretty large painting. And I did start that and got all the buildings in pencil. That way I got all my lines where I needed it to be, so that way I could push them. Because I'll be honest with you, I can paint anything I see, or I've always drawn. Ever since I was a kid, I drew. I was that kid in school that everyone else was paying attention in class. I hate to tattletale myself. Sorry, Mom. I was that kid drawing. And so having that background of drawing really helps when it comes to painting. So if you are starting from scratch, keep a sketch pad with you. Keep a pencil with you. Anytime you're waiting in the doctor's office, look around, and anything that inspires you, if it's a magazine on the table, draw it. Keep that drawing pad in your purse. You know, it doesn't, and don't worry about what it looks like. It's for you. Nobody else is. If you choose to show somebody, then you choose to show somebody. If you don't, then you don't. It's for you. Practice makes perfect, as the saying goes. And this probably, putting this wash on will go a little bit faster if I had a bigger brush, or chose a bigger brush, but we're just going to keep going. So besides that, pencil and paper I put down. To me it's an extra step that I don't need unless it's straight lines. And heaven forbid, I can't really draw a straight line. You can imagine the things I can draw, but a straight line is just not one of them. I do believe in rulers. There are some tricks along the way that you can learn and are going to put in your learning toolbox, we're going to call it. Compositions, how to make the background farther away, and that's all in details. You want that details in your foreground. Your background, you want to keep soft edges. Composition, keeping things, don't be planting anything in the middle of the painting. You want to offset things. You don't want to run your details, your sharp edges, all the way to the corners of the painting. And we'll talk about these as video goes and as I work on this video. And by all means, you know, there are plenty of plein air painters and fine artists doing studio work. You learn a lot from YouTube. And this is so out of my character because I'm a type of person who's really quiet to get to know. So me going as a YouTuber, which my kids are getting a kick out of this, me even doing this because it's out of my character. But when you hit art, to me, it's such a rewarding thing. I would like to share what I do and how I do it. And YouTube to me is like a one-way street on the conversation because you're not here to talk back. So by all means, please leave me comments if you have questions so we can make this more of a two-way road along the way. So right now all I'm doing is kind of wiping it down, getting that middle tone that I'm looking for. I'm going to kind of blur it out a little bit. Kind of blotchy. Yep, that looks good. We're going to give it a second or two to dry. I like to give it about, 10 minutes. Right here in my little jar, I do have Q-tips. I love using Q-tips at this stage because it really helps getting details. And I found out my daughter, who is a senior in high school this year, she'll be graduating. She's really into makeup and being a makeup artist. She's going to go to school for pharmacy, and we ran across these Q-tips for makeup, and they're really pointed. You find them in the makeup section. You have to look for them. So these work really great. Okay, we've given it a little bit of time to dry. I'm going to come back in with this previous wash I was working on earlier, the Van Dyke Brown and the Limson Crimson. I'm going to loosen that up to almost an ink consistency. Really, to give it the drawing, I've switched paintbrushes here to a pointed round, and it's a 0, so it's pretty small. Let's see, we got a lot of decisions to make. Alright, the one thing I like about the painting is a child's first light experience of those lights at Christmas, just the way their eyes dazzle. So that's really what I want to say in this painting. And that's one thing you got to put across is what do you want the painting to say? And that really is the essence of Christmas for me. So we're going to let's see. And I'm trying to decide too if I want to focus in and just do certain sections of it or the actual whole photograph. The one thing I do love is the baby's feet. Baby's feet are just so cute. I just love baby's feet. So that in as a second focal point, but the focal point the main one is the highlights of the face, and definitely want to. All right, I think we're gonna start with the eyes, and then since that's gonna be my focal point, we're gonna get them on here. You're gonna hear a little bit of some noise in the background. My sons came home, so I think I want, and that'll give me an idea on how. And we may have to move things around as we go here. See the nose. Here, so kind of concentrating on that cheek line. That cute little mouth. Of course, we're gonna add some chin, so we're gonna have to take that nose back. Great thing, like I said, about these is that dip them in Gamsol and just erases whatever you want to erase. Just blocking in the big features of the baby. Get that big belly in there. Gotta love little belly buttons and bellies. Nothing's ever final. There's no mistakes in painting. Because you can always paint over. Gamsol is really a great eraser. We do want to add this ear in, so if I'm making the eyes about here, let's go ahead and bring these eyes back in a little bit more. You may have to play with this. Put some nostrils here. Of course, baby's nose is kind of round. The dark shadows. Bring that baby's mouth in. We'll block it in a dark color. And I'll be honest with you, as far as painting and getting it on there, I think the biggest challenge will be the face. There's a lot of shadows in it, so that really helps out. We have a little ear over here we want to add in. So we're going to add the ear there in dark. Kind of like how that kind of brings it. I want to bring this ball down to where it shows it in the photo. Kind of makes it a little bit bigger of a hat. So notice how I'm just moving that ball. Nothing's permanent. Nothing's permanent at this stage. We're going to start adding some shadows. There's some catching shadows in the arm, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of imply these dark shadows. This is my darkest color, so I'm looking for those darkest points on the baby. So we have some neck darkness, and I'm just kind of putting them in to help bring it along. And there's a little bit more. I'm going to have to extend that arm out a little bit because there's a little bit of the arm here, and I'm kind of cut that off. So I want to add that back in and get those dimensions right. And again, we're just going to make it here. And this is going to be his little fist. And we're pretty much making a circle as we work along. So we're going to add some eyebrows. Now you got to consider your anatomy. You do have your eye socket, so that's pretty much a circle. And when you're doing portraits, you want to keep that in mind, even when it does come to babies. We're going to go with a little bit back to that medium tone. We're still in a wash. We can thicken it up a little bit. We're going to add that. Now, to not make a painting flat, you have to study the curves. If it's round, then you paint round. So you paint in that circle. So his eye socket, I'm going to paint it like a circle. We're going to kind of get it in. And I know this kind of is going to look like an alien for a while or something. But we're kind of just, remember, we're keeping big shapes. Kind of getting in here in this darker area and keeping in mind that his eye socket is round. So we're going to paint it round. We're going to come back and we'll add highlights as we go. We can just scrub out highlights. But we want to kind of put those in. Changes. I'm going to push some lines. See, this is the thing about not putting pencil. Pencil is so final. Paint you can push around. Like if that line to me isn't too far up, I'm going to push it back. And I'm going to develop it more. Some brush strokes matter. They really do. So I'm coming from the nose, if you can kind of tell that's a nose yet, and pulling down and around. I'm going to keep that, and you can bring that right under the nose down. I don't know if you can kind of see the baby forming yet. Now this eye is going to go out a little bit and down, and that cheekbone is there, but keep in mind I want to keep this round. When it's showing up round, I am pretty pleased on the placement of everything right now. And there's some lightness in here. We'll go back and add highlights. Now we're going to add some of these rolls in that neck. Now I'm just kind of really focusing in on the line, the outline of how that shape is. So I'm going to kind of, it's going to go down and droop, and you can push and pull it through the entire painting until you've got it where you want it. So even now in this point, nothing's permanent. And that's one of the great things about oil paint is where it does not dry as fast. Acrylics have been dried by now. So that's one of the things I really enjoy about having oil versus acrylic. It gives you so much more freedom. To the burnt sienna and just adding white to it, and I want to warm that back up. It doesn't matter. I'm going to paint over it so many times now. Warmed it up a little bit. And I think I'm at the point now I can switch brushes. Let's go back up before I do switch brushes. Let's get a little bit in there on that brown. Still learning to show y'all my palette. Going back in this dark wash we did earlier, and a little bit in there. Going to just draw out that mouth a little bit. Put things where I want them. While I'm in the dark area, there's some dark on them knuckles. Right through here, I see a patches of dark, so I'm going to put that on right there. And this part here gets a little lighter, so we're going to go to the middle tone. And we're going to add some of that. And we'll add those lights in later. I'm not concerned about the lights right now. I just want to get the baby in so we can start that work on that baby. Use your focal point. Again, we got that going, and I'm mixing a little bit back and forth between the two to get some, like, the middle range of this medium and this dark. I'm just kind of slowly bringing some over here to give some variations. Now I've dipped in and didn't really dry off my brush, so I'm pulling Gamsol in, which is making it more of a wash, which is fine. Because I'm just pushing and pulling colors. I'm just laying things in. And blend in as I go. I'm picking up that drawing. This little arm does do this little thing here. I'm going to dry my brush off a little bit because I want to take the paint that's already on there and kind of bring that neck in. And he's got a lot of, a little darker here. Which if I put dark on the neck, the chin's going to come up a lot lighter to where I wanted it. Again, this probably looks a little bit abstract to you, but we're just kind of laying it in. Color, because these pants are going to be red. Actually, I may go ahead and put a little bit more Linsum Crimson. I will never get that word right. And just kind of imply the red. We already know that, hey, this is going to be red, so let's go ahead and start it off in some red. Now we're going to keep that baby's big belly over top. Now, I've kind of flattened this in my drawing, so his leg kind of goes a little bit more up and around for the knee. So we're going to go ahead and put that in now. We're going to push that drawing out and get that in and go, then fall straight down, so we're going to fall it straight down. Like I said, the more you draw, the better this stage is going to get for you. And again, on a leg, it's going to go out this way, and then we're going to take it down this way. And if you keep the brush strokes going the way things are that you really showing up that way, you have to really get that in. Now, here I got to keep in mind, this is getting toward the edge of the painting. It's not the focal point, so I'm not going to have a lot of details down here. I'm going to keep everything rounded. We're going to get it on there. I'll show you how to erase. Alright. I've cleaned my brush pretty good. Now I'm just going to dip it in the Gamsol. I'm going to come around and I'm going to take that paint off. It's just like an eraser. Now I'm going to actually start shaping it up a little bit like this. Take my paper towel, drop the excess, but I'm going to go back on here in that mid-tone and just put that background back in. There we go. It's that easy. Dropping it down into the Gamsol. I don't have any paint on there. I'm just going to remove paint. I'm going to dry. I'm going to dip in Gamsol and I'm going to remove paint. It may run a little bit. If it starts running on you, blot it off there. And you're pretty much taking it back down to the canvas. But we want that white is white, so that's going to be our lightest color. And it's going to be about the same, this shade here, that shade there, here, and along that belly. Pretty much the same lightness. So the level of light there is playing the same. So we're going to get this. Now, I think I'll run it a little bit off the painting. And bam. Now this actually is showing up to be such a focal point, but later on we'll darken this back down. Oh, and you're pushing that paint around. In this case, I'm kind of wiping some of the paint off. And I'm watching, if you can see in this painting, the lines and how the structure of the line is. It goes up, it goes around, and then kind of curves back. The little whites of his pajamas there, or Santa pants, should we call them? His little baby Santa pants. You just gotta love babies. Time flies by so fast as the kids grow. Can't believe my youngest graduating from high school this year. Should be turning 18 in March. Well, time goes by. My son, he's in college now. He's going to be a diesel mechanic. Okay, we haven't done much color up here on this hat, so we're going to go in and go ahead and put that rim in. While we've got a lot of this white out, we're doing this erasing stage. If it's not erasing well, go back in and more Gamsol and erase that out. Now I'm also looking back to where is those lines going. I don't want to just go crazy erasing. And I'm drying. If it starts to drip, that's when I'm going back and taking some of it off my brush. I'm drying it off the brush so I can go back in. Now it's going to come around this ear, so you pretty much lightening it up there. Really study your photographs. Study those lines. And get out of your head. Don't paint what you think it should look like. Paint what it looks like. Study it. Take time and study it. Stop. That's the good thing about working in a studio is you have control of the lights. You have time as you. The only thing is time-wise is that at this stage, where I'm going to do this video today is that it is the drawing stage, but after I'll show you where I like to stop is pretty much where I got the painting to the point I'm going to start applying paint. Right now I'm painting in like a wash. So when I'll stop this video today when I've pretty much got this washed down to where I wanted it. And then it's drawn on there. And I'm going to just put this hat in to get it in there. Oh, yeah, I know. And I'm just kind of mixing together what I've got between these colors. It's going to be pretty much darker back there, and just kind of washing it in to get it laid in, and I'm running it off. Because there's not going to be any details in the hat as far as, when I say detail, I mean hard lines. There's not going to be any hard lines back here. It's just variety of shades of red. So that's going to come down. and decide, and we need to decide how many, where we're going to put them, the lights. Because we want those lights to be as bright in the picture. You have variety here. We can add that later. But this is white, white. These lights are going to be brighter than that. So when we go to that painting, we need to take that down and bring the white up. So, which we're not concerned about at this point. Right now, we just want our light colors on there. So we're going to go through and we're just going to pop in where these are going to be. Then we have one here. And you don't want to get the same distance between each one, because if you have that on there, you're not going to give the impression that these are just a wadded up lights. Now, there's one kicking back here. Then we do want to make sure it makes it in there because it's changed the light on the arms. It's cast in light. And those are one things you need to study on your photograph is how the light's hitting. Where's your light source, which we know the light source, main light source is coming in from the right, top right. But these lights are kicking back up onto the baby, causing other shadow effects. So we want to make sure we get those effects in there. And right now we need to get the lights. We want to get the lights brightest. As they go off the page, or off the painting, should I say, we'll darken them. So that way it really keeps a focal point here. But right now we're going to make them all the same. That little trick we'll do later on when we get to painting. Like today, we're just drawing. So he's got another one down here toward his knee. We really want to put that one in because it's kicking shadow up on that knee and changing the redness in his leg. So we're going to get that down there. We have all kinds of these cute little bitty feet. So we want to decide. We're deciding where are these going to go. Now, he's got that one, as I've noticed when it's in there, he actually has that in his fingers and holding it up. So we're going to just put it down like that because he's holding the base of that one light. And I love the fact that they just used white lights. I like colored Christmas lights, I really do. But to me, those white lights, they just show classical Christmas like. And such a peaceful. The colored light just gives so much dramatic, like a busy atmosphere when it comes to being on a tree. Shows more exciting, gets more pepped up, I should say. Which the white lights always, and I usually always use white lights, is more of a calming effect on me than others. So we're going to decide right here. We've got to decide how many of these, this little cluster of lights right in here, are they necessary? So we want to show that. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which in any kind of doing anything, odd numbers are best. So we're going to add that 5th one here. If you work in odd numbers, when you're doing still life or anything, it reads better than even numbers. So we've got 1 here, so we should add a couple here. We have 1 right here. So we're going to put that one in, which is going to be a faint one. So we're just going to imply that it's there. And we're just kind of popping them here, there, and everywhere. Even if it's just, we're not going to give a lot of details of these down here. But we're going to imply that they're there. So we don't care really how bright we get them. We just want to make sure they're there. And we'll give a little cluster here of just all of them together and not a lot of detail. We'll make it like a... Alright, now we're going to go back and we're going to do some serious lighten up on the painting. So, we're going to consider what is our lightest. We got some light coming from here. So we're going to have to go in and wash that belly out where those lights are hitting. Again, you don't want to put, I want to take it like around. Still even in a wash stage, you're paying attention to those brush strokes. Now, you can also take your paper towel. Ooh, see that? Really made that light. Now I'm going to come back in and do a little bit of blending. Bring that baby out. Got it a little too light, so I'm going to darken it back up a tad by just lightly going over it. And actually, the way the light kicks up, this underneath his hand is actually lighter than the hand, so we want to keep that in mind. That's going to be lighter. So we can always make it darker later on. But right now is a good time to make it a little bit on the lighter side. Kind of just leaving that arm out. And there's some baby cracks in his underarm. I'm kind of pull those in. And you see I didn't add paint. I'm just going down in here and pulling the paint upwards. And that's one thing about oil paints. It allows you to do that. That's really hard to do in acrylics. Go in and add that from here all the way up. Again, I'm just working with removing paint. I'm pushing and pulling this paint around. I don't even have my palette in my hand. I've got paper towel and paintbrush and going at it. Now I'm going to take this little paint that is on there and I'm going to work with it by just pushing and pulling it around. That's one thing about oil paint, you can't lay your hand down on it. So, mallet stick is what you need, but this is a metal ruler and it kind of gives me a give just to keep my hand up off the painting. And again, inexpensive. And I'm just kind of going down, I hope you can see this. I've got quite a bit on there. me show you where I'm at. I've went back and I've done some highlighted. I've darkened in the background to make the dimensions of his face. I'm going to go back and continue to blend these different highlights of his face in different tones to get it blended in. Hi, it's Monday morning. I'm getting ready for work. I do work a 40-hour job plus. I drive a fork truck at a local factory. I wanted to show you how much we've gotten done. Yesterday was Sunday, and I don't want to mislead you that painting does take time, and we've probably got a little under 3 hours in this. I've went back and I've removed a lot of the paint in the face and the hands and the feet, because we're going to split that up several different videos to give you a more understanding of what it takes in a painting, especially when it comes to a portrait like this. Even though it is a baby, that I've decided to kind of split it up. I appreciate you spending time with me already on this video, and I can't wait to continue the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe and come back and see me.